Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a Kerfuffle partnership exclusive here today. I don't know if it is exclusive, but I claim it anyway. So here we are, Partnership Fridays. We love that. People getting together in the wonderful world of prop tech. Don't listen to what Russell Quirk says. These are good people here. These are good people. I know these people. So yeah, just ignore
my anorak's hanging up over there. Do you need me to pop it on quickly?
I don't know, Christian. I'm so far up I'm so far up my ivory tower. I wouldn't be able to tell you. Let's just place this properly. We've got the wonderful Richard Durant here, our commercial strategic director, and Mr. Detail compared to my little bit of a butterfly. He's here today because he actually understands lettings. So that's useful from your point of view. Don't listen to what they say on LinkedIn with my 170 thumbs up for lettings expertise. I don't know jack shit. But anyway, we've got Nick here today from No Letting Go. How the devil are you, sir? All right.
I am excellent. All the better for seeing you, Mr. Whale. Always.
I'm the mental coach.
It's brightened my day up. Always makes me look like I know so much more about lettings when I talk to you. It makes me feel so much better.
Thank you. What's a tenant again? Anyway, no, enough of that. And Christian, the Viking Byfield. That sounds like the start of a Royal Rumble, doesn't it? How are you, sir? You all right?
Good, mate. I'm good. As you can see, my mascot is having a very difficult day at the office today.
Yeah, that'll be me in about an hour once we finish it. Not hopefully licking my balls. That would be too much. Right, again, back to the professionalism. I bet people didn't think this lettings partnership was going to be as dry as this, did they?
Right. To a whole new level, sorry.
Right, we have got a really, really interesting tie-up today. You've been lucky enough to share me a video of one of your first clients who's seen this partnership integration and the Gogglebox style reaction that they had, which was absolutely perfect. We'll come on to that a little bit later. Go on, Rich.
Are we watching that video? I was going to refer to somebody, something somebody referred as.
Yeah, we're going to watch that specific one, but
I won't ruin it.
No, don't. Yeah, exactly. Don't tell him it. You know, it's like the Bible. He dies at the end. That's it. We just lost all the religious people. Guys, talk us through how this happens, what problem it was solving. Do you want to kick us off, Christian?
So look, I think look, we're at the Depositary. We're just trying to massively streamline the end of tenancy process for agents. Nick and I have been talking for years about this. I think most of you that know the history of the Depositary, we were sort of the worst kept secret in the industry. We were, touting ourselves long before we launched. But Nick and I had met at numerous industry events and had always talked about the synergy between what we were trying to do and how crucial a part sort of plugging in inventory partners like Nick and No Letting Go was really going to be critical to where we ultimately wanted to get with our process. Partner integrations are huge, but I think, sometimes partner integrations can be a little bit loose. There's a small, almost intangible benefit. Maybe like a small benefit of, you don't have to type in a landlord detail. But then you've got integrations like we've got with No Letting Go, which we'll show to you guys in a bit. And the leap forward by plugging products like No Letting Go and their capture software into our system is huge. I think the big sell on this that I would say to any sort of letting agent or property management team is, if you use this right, your property management team should never have to read a checkout report ever again. I think that's the easiest singular big sell.
Yeah, that's your elevator pitch, and I saw as Rich was intimating, we saw the reaction yesterday.
And Christian or Nick, just to position that, how much time will it save a property manager per tenancy? And I've got agency experience and I've got my opinion, but you guys, what do you believe the time save per tenancy?
So look, conservatively, we're saying this probably saves on average 15 to 20 minutes per transaction.
I think you're being quite conservative there as well, Christian. I mean, we, as you know, we do an enormous amount of checkers, have done for many, many years, and the biggest single challenge has always been the work involved in getting the information on your checkout, in which could be anything from a house that's been trashed to a couple of small minor issues. But the biggest challenge is that whole element around negotiation and around managing that process. And I think a lot of people sort of take it as their day job, property managers take it as their day, and sort of probably don't really know truly how much time they spend on it.
It's seen as a necessary evil, isn't it? This is how it's always been. This is how it always will be. And what you're bringing to the table is one of those wonderful things. No, actually, by this tie-up, we're able to give you time back.
Yeah. Well, I think that the demo we did yesterday, going off the back of what Nick said, we demoed this to Robinson Jackson yesterday, who used No Letting Go, who are our partner on our platform, and we were sat there, and SJ, who heads up their sort of property management team there, she was so excited seeing this yesterday. I mean, she gave a case study that she's literally just done a tenancy where she spent an entire day, a whole day reviewing one checkout report. Yeah. It was like a 50, 60 page checkout report. It took her a whole day to go through that in detail, correlate all the issues that needed to be pulled out of that, and then negotiated with the tenant. Yeah. And I feel that is an extreme example, but that example we would literally take down to about a 5-minute job from a day's job. That is an extreme example.
It's extreme, but it's not unusual. I mean, this is, everyone in property management will, particularly when time is short, because bearing in mind we're in quite, it's quite seasonal. Once we hit those summer months and those student markets, the student checkouts start kicking in, suddenly you're in a situation where you've got, X amount of checkouts to be carried out in a limited amount of time. Then it becomes, if you've got a day where there's not so much going on, it's not so much of an issue. But of course, that's not the reality. Yeah. There's loads of other pressures coming in all over the place, and I think what the critical, if you like, freedom of when you free up the time is the critical element is to spend more time on talking to the tenants, talking to the landlords, negotiating the process, rather than spending all that time buried into the paperwork. It's about that communication element, which I think is where the value is.
Absolutely. I mean, just second what Nick said, we've had a couple of demos with agents where they've gone, we don't want to automate it too much. We like the fact that we talk to the landlords at the deduction proposal stage, and we talk to the tenants before we send them the proposals to give them a heads up. And we're like, great. When I am not for 1 second advocating or trying to say to every agent, get rid of all your human stuff and just let tech do it. You can do that, and we do have agents that fully embrace that because of operationally that's really what's viable for them. But you've got more full service agents, and I've got base, and we would still very much, how we've trained our guys with how these integrations work is exactly that. When we've got the proposals ready, we put in a personal phone call to the landlord, and we just go, look, have you got 5 to 10 minutes for us to quickly just run through this list with you before we send it over?
And Kristen, in your experience from base, do you think tenants have more trust in tech? So whereas traditionally, the DLAPs are done by an opinion of a negotiator or property manager and so on, and quite often it's difficult to argue about your opinion because somebody will just believe it that's all it is, an opinion. When you're able to back it up by saying that the tech has, the tech is suggesting these are the dilapidations and so on, do you think there's a bit more trust in it from tenants? It makes it an easier job for the property manager?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Look, I think when it comes to a tech platform, there is a certain innate trust, and also people just accept that that's a process. So you could email a tenant setting out a process in an email, the exact same process you do in a platform, and in an email a tenant will come back and they'll go, I've not been asked to do that before, and why are you asking for this, and why are you doing that? You can put them on a platform where they have to do exactly the same things. Click here, upload this, now do this. they won't question it, because in an interface, it's like, oh, I have to do this to get to the next stage. And so, you know, it does sort of naturally pull people through the system. The other thing that we were really, really keen to do around this whole deduction space is to get away from the emotion of it.
Yeah.
All too often, I think typically more when it's direct landlord to tenant, but also where there's managing agents as well, all too often there's this language at the start of deduction stage along the lines of, oh, it's so disappointing to see the property handed back like this. And it's like straight away you're raising that emotional tangent, because tenants fundamentally don't care what their landlord or managing agent thinks. It's just contractually, what are they liable for? And what we do, and what our integration with No Letting Go does, is it's all about the facts. You're presented with very tangible, evidence-based facts and it's very hard to argue with. If you're presented with something and it goes, look, here's the check-in report that shows your oven was spotless when you moved in. Here's the checkout report that shows it was absolutely disgusting. You know, here's the tenancy clause that references your responsibility, and here's the invoice for the charge to resolve that issue. That's very hard to contest. You know, you've got your contractual arrangement, you've got the evidence, end of.
And don't forget that the whole essence behind, you know, inventory management and you know, outsourcing inventory management particularly, of course, is around the fact that emotion plays such a critical part of the interaction that goes on at the end of the tenancy, that actually the more you can take out of that emotion out of the process, the better the outcome is. You know, inventory companies are there to you know, the wall was white, now it's blue. There's clearly a change. We register change. It's a fact. We're not there to make the decision as to whose fault it is and how much they pay for it. That's not our call. The information, the quicker it gets into somebody's systems, they can see it. And in Depositary, of course, all the information is put in one place. It's stripped out so that, you know, here are the bare line facts. What are we going to do? How are we going to work this through? And that's, you know, it's the one element in the market, I think, that Chris has done a fantastic job, and it's the one element that hasn't been addressed, and probably one of the biggest value adds in property management for sure, in terms of, I mean, taking aside referencing all those different things that PropTech have made some great inroads over, but this element of it, I think
hasn't been hit.
No, it hasn't, and I think, you know, this is a good step forward, and I'm, you know, hopefully there'll be more to come. So
look, and the data sort of backed us up. So last year, our first year, we processed just over 2,000 tenancies through the platform. I think it's something like 72% of all proposed deductions across those 2,000 tenancies were accepted by the tenants without any renegotiation.
Yeah.
So nearly 3/4 of all proposed deductions, you know, and I think, you know, plugins, integrations with the likes of No Letting Go, I think are going to help us nudge that figure higher. I think we're going to struggle to get much past 80-85%, because I think there's always going to be that element that you know, there's always going to be tenants that contest something, even if it is evidence contractual.
But what was that previously, Christian? So that the important thing is there. What would that have been before that?
There is no data around it. That's the point. I mean, because we're one of the first entities to properly digitize this process. We're really the first ones to be diving into the sort of deep data sets around this. But I would probably hazard a guess that it's somewhere more around the 50% mark.
Official Kerfuffle statistics are that that's a white paper done, dusted. So we're 20% increase on that. That's perfect.
We could probably, you know, I can go back sort of 14, 15 years. I could probably look at statistically how many checkouts had some form of dilapidation on them, and it would probably be in the region of about 80%, I would imagine.
Okay.
Because rarely do you have nothing.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I mean, one thing we don't do is, you've been sat on the other side, Christian, indeed you, Nick, where you've put the pressure on the likes of the CRM companies as clients to get integration to work. And you realise, don't you, when you go into this, why it's such a big challenge. You can't just do these willy-nilly. They have to be the right relationships. They have to be the right partnerships. So how long did it take you to actually do the work? And was it a good experience just working with each other? Do you want to kick off first, Nick, on that?
Well, I like to say that I delegated this down to my team to do. So, but to be fair, that Chris and I have been talking to about this for a number of years, and the timing was right. The market was right as well, and we both knew exactly what we wanted out of it. We obviously, and that once you understand that what is the purpose here, what are we trying to achieve, and that's very, very clear. We both knew that. So I think because we had a lot of clarity around that, the process a lot easier. Then it's a matter for the tech guys to really get stuck into that. Would you agree, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, our conversation, we were very much on the same page before we got into the nuts and bolts discussions about going forward. And then that made that conversation very easy. It was a very quick discussion about how we saw this working and the benefits for both sides. And good integrations do benefit both partners.
Yeah, and of course the other big advantage is that the whole of Knowledge can go and capture and all of the data collecting across the whole of our group, which is what 82 offices now. So it's an enormous amount of data collecting around the country. All of that is all centered around one platform. So the data is held all in one place. So that makes the process of adding value in similar ways that we're doing here much more efficient and much easier. Because if we had, we're sort of doing 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 reports a month. When you're processing that amount of reports and however many photographs and data lines there are, this process is a simple way to extrapolate that straight off the checkout, straight into the system, and deal with the issue.
Perfect. We're getting some great feedback here as well from people. So you have a coffee while I read this out. Some of my favourite people, I assume that's Mr. Mintz there. We have fantastic feedback here from Dominic. Great tech and brilliant integration for business efficiency. No brainer. I think it's a bit of a critique about the host. So thank you for that, Dominic. We'll put that down to Friday. And then somebody who knows about my no brainer, Mr. Gary Barker, 100% of Wales statistics made up on the spot. That's a bit rich coming from you, Gary, if I'm honest. I'm sure you told me if you said it confidently enough, it has to be true. That wasn't what I said, Gary. And I knew you weren't listening to me. What I said was, it's not a lie if you believe it. That's the Thank you for tuning in and thank you for your feedback there, guys. So look, I think that's really sort of set that up in terms of obviously where you're going. Christian, did you want to actually just give us an overview of it?
Yeah, look, I think we've teed it up nicely. If we just quickly show sort of the nuts and bolts. So before we share the screen, so just to explain what I've done. So in our Depositary platform, we've teed up a tenancy. So basically, we've set up a tenancy that's concluding. The tenant has arranged their checkout, has arranged their clean, and where it's sat at the moment is it's on checkout day. So we've got a tenancy set up that's ending today. And what we're going to do is we're going to show how we go from that stage through to the proposed deductions. So in a second, we'll show the screen. I'm then going to hop across into the Capture software platform and upload a report. So I've pre-prepared a report, and in there we've got meter readings. So we've got electricity, gas and water meter data captured in there. And then we've put in 2 proposed dilapidations. So we've put in a dirty oven and an overgrown garden that have been picked up in the checkout report. So we're just going to show from the point of checkout how that goes through. One thing I am going to say, we're doing this in our demo environment. So It should work absolutely fine. But no, just to say, our demo environment is slightly slower than our live environment. So you will see a little bit of lag between each action. Yeah. That doesn't happen in our live space. Our live space is instant. But yeah, just that little disclaimer.
Let me deal with that. Like, oh, demo gods, be kind.
Be kind. Cool. In which case, Whaley, I'm ready when you are. You just tell me when the screen's up, and I'll wade through.
Were you being a little bit cheeky there about the overgrown garden? Or was that
absolutely. It's on. Yeah. Funny.
Okay. All right, let's just see. So you won't. I don't think you'll be able to see this, Christian.
No.
But we can see the screen up there fine. We've got the depository screen out. It's wonderful, clean UI, as I've said many times. Lovely dashboard down the left-hand side, just with the toolbar down there. And we're looking at here at the sort of checkout date timeline at the top.
Yeah, so we've got the tenancy timeline. So the inventory relates to the booking and the checkout. So the checkouts. Oh, hello. Checkout's been booked, clean's been booked, and so we've arrived at the checkout day. Now, normally, this next stage would all be done manually. You'd say the checkout's happened, you'd manually upload the checkout report, you'd input the meter data, and you'd input the deduction. So, like I said, I'm going to hop across to the capture system. We've got a report that's ready to go, and we're just going to upload that to the library.
To be 100% clear again there, Nick, this is your system, isn't it?
This is part of our system. And the report's already been completed and done. It's come over from ours.
So we're going to come back in here and we're just going to refresh this page.
It was that simple that Christian did it in the 2 seconds we were talking.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't even. He beat me.
And there we go. So that's the integration pulled through. So you can see we were at the checkout stage. It's completed meter readings and gone through to deductions. And you've now got review deposit deductions imported from No Letting Go. So I'm just going to quickly take you back and just walk through those stages. So with the checkout, it's validated that the checkout's taken place, which has certified the end of tenancy. Yep. It's captured the checkout report in the platform, which anyone can link and open. That has also instantly been emailed out to the landlords and tenants to say it's been completed, it's available to view in the platform. If we come into the meter readings, it's captured the meter reading data. So if we go in here are all the meter readings. So we've captured the date they were read, the reading, the meter reference number, and if there's images of the meter readings as well, that's captured in there. So you've got that. And then, like I said, we go into deduction. So review the deposit deductions imported by No Letting Go, and we click on that. And here are those two issues. So we've got the overgrown garden. So it didn't, No Letting Go doesn't have a gardening action. So we put that through as maintenance. We just need to reassign that to gardening class. The agent will assign a value. And then it pulls through any description. So massively overgrown requires grass cutting, etc. And any photographic evidence are also pulled through. Now, the agents can still edit this. So they can reference a tenancy contract. So they can say, oh, F6 in our tenancy contract is the clause about garden maintenance. If they want, they can add, let's say, an invoice. So they can come in here and say, oh, I've got an invoice for that clean. So they can add additional evidence to it. And then when they're happy, they just sign off on that. And that goes to draft stage. And then they do the same thing with the second one. So again, cleaning, kitchen oven, they assign a value to that. And again, they can edit that as they see fit.
Yeah.
Again, upload an invoice for that if they want. Click save. And so that's it. No reading a checkout report. Those two highlighted issues are in there. Now, you know, there might be rent arrears on this tenancy. So if an agent wants to add rent arrears, they can just add new deduction. They can come in here and go rent and rent arrears and add in, you know, whatever. I'm not going to add that in. We can cancel that. But the point is that an agent can add to that. And then when an agent's ready, this is what we were talking about earlier, this is the opportunity where if you want to keep that personal touch, this is a really good opportunity to get on the phone to your landlord, you know, and say, look, I don't know if you've already had a chance to look at the checkout report, but there's two issues that have been highlighted. We've put them in. I just want to talk through them with you. And then you can have a chat with your landlord. And then depending what your landlord's response is, if your landlord is like, yeah, you know what, I've had a look at the report, I'm happy with that, that can go straight off to the tenants. You just sign off deductions. And if the landlord's giving you verbal approval, you can skip landlord approval and you click sign off, and that will just send those straight off to the tenants to review. Equally, if your landlord's like, do you know what, I'd rather have a look at those and have a bit of time, then you sign off as an agent, and then that goes through a sort of due diligence sign off by the landlord. And then that pulls us through that system. So your landlord will have a chance to edit, add, whatever. So that captures your sort of due diligence in terms of your client sign off. And then we take that process over to the tenants. But I can quickly show you that now. So if we skip the landlord approval, and we do sign off, and then if I quickly jump to my emails,
always dangerous.
Always dangerous. And so here is the email to the tenants. The tenants will get an email like this, which sets out the proposed deductions already in there. And if I open that, can you still see this screen? Because it's an incognito one. So this is the tenant dashboard. So they come in and literally everything they need to assess this deduction is right there. So they've got the check-in report, the checkout report, the tenancy agreement, any of the uploaded evidence, any of the contextual evidence that's been put in, the description, the amount, the contract clause reference is all there. And so the tenant can then approve or decline according to how they review that. For the purpose of today, we're just going to say, yeah, that tenant's happy with both of those deductions and they've approved both of those. And if we jump back into here and we just refresh that now. And so we're now onto the refund stage. So ready to initiate refund. And then an agent will just come in and sign off on the final ledger. And that now triggers the payment information with the tenants. So again, if we jump back into here, we quickly refresh that and we come in here, your money's ready to refund, and we capture this whole process. Now, if it's a TDS custodial tenancy, once you sign off on that breakdown, that just triggers through our integration with TDS custodial instructions to them to facilitate the refund directly. If you're with TDS insured, we will just gather tenants' details. And if it's a joint tenancy, we'll also capture how those funds are allocated between tenants, who gets how much, and where, how, and why. When they submit their payment information, they also have to give us a forwarding address, because again, we know that's another challenge for agents, is capturing forwarding addresses from tenants is really difficult. So if they have to submit payment information, they have to give a forwarding address. And if we jump one more time back into the platform, we've now got this ready to refund. And you can have an accounts user set up within our platform. So if you have a specific member of staff that just does account stuff, they will get a notification at this stage to say this tenancy is ready for a refund. And they will go in and all the tenant payment information will be there. And they will just notify the system of the date that transaction was made. And again, that will just update the tenant to say your refund has been made. Here we go. So it says, there you go, your refund's been made. And the final thing that a tenant can do, about half of them do this, half of them don't, is they can go in and actually verify that they've received those funds. So you've got that end date. Our tenancy will auto conclude even without that. Because obviously, like I said, only about half the tenants do that. And then if I just refresh that, that will be our whole tenancy process completely concluded. And then our platform also auto-generates a completion report, which can be downloaded and saved in your CRM or whatever. And it is literally just a PDF summary of that entire transaction. What was proposed, who signed off, at what stage, etc., etc. So that's it. That's it in a nutshell.
It's a fantastic integration, I think.
Tell me when you stop sharing my screen and I'll click back so I can see you guys again.
Back in the room now.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's going to make some massive leaps forward, Chris, in the market. And Rich, you must have been in the lettings industry as long as I have. So
thanks for that. No, I've not seen it before today. I watched a snippet video last night where I think somebody referred to Christian as God, which probably sums it up. To me, the challenges we have in lettings, and especially that end of tenancy, it removes, it's accurate. It removes an element of human error, which you're always going to get. But also, like we've mentioned before, it removes the emotional decisions that we as agents make. And anybody who says they don't make a decision, the treatment they give the tenant at the end of tenancy, who's been an absolute pain the entire tenancy, you know, I challenge anybody to say they haven't been biased towards the landlord in that case, or vice versa. It removes.
Right, Nick, thank you very much for joining us here today. Rich, my friend, catch up with you. Christian, the God Viking from Byfield, from Simon Only Sales Whale. Have a great weekend.
Guys, have a great weekend. Thanks a lot for your time.
Cheers.